Mice and me. This mouse was smart. Very smart. Hell, as the traps began taking their toll on the mouse population, each new generation would selectively breed out the ones easily tricked by the traps. Thus selection of the smartest and strongest offspring was a given. Far from Robert Burns' little, sleek, cowering, timorous beast, this menacing critter had the tenacity and wit of an astute wolverine on a bad day. Eradicating the problem had created a new problem. Mice resistant to capture, with what one might describe as an attitude of superiority over the humans inhabiting the residence. This uber mouse was building something. Each night without fail loud sounds of teeth on plaster echoed through the walls and the adjoining rooms. Constant work, persistent and unrelenting, a single-minded pursuit in which no human would interfere, foregoing the sustenance of food tidbits for the nightly job ahead. A constant gnawing throughout the night, only to stop dead if a human made so much as a step forward to see what the mind-rattling noise was all about. The mouse, steady fast, and committed to seeing a monumental construction though till the end. What was it? The kitchen showed no signs of large holes. Judging from the sound, there should be a massive hole by now. Hours upon hours of uninterrupted grinding, scraping, gnawing and chewing, enough to awaken a sound sleeper, and drive one mad. The infernal machine chewing into the historic house, leaving behind only excrement, chewed packages, and the foul smell of grey fur and piss. What would be the outcome of this big dig? Was it to get in or get out? When would it be noticeable? And when would it be too late to repair? Would the load-bearing wall come down from the floor? He had to be stopped. But how? The resident had had his fill of glow traps, successful and convenient, but utterly savage in terms of body disposal. The typical city dweller, hardened by city life, would toss the squealing rodent, feet firmly affixed to a glow tray, into a plastic trash bag. Death would lie somewhere between suffocation, animal attack, and refuse burial. Squirming on the bed of glue would only rub the backside fur further into the sticky mass. One would witness muscles pulling in a futile attempt for freedom. The resident thought the humane end to glow entrapment was merciful execution, via a green plastic water bucket in an enamel bathtub, holding one end of the glue board from behind, and the other end submerged into tap water. He would drown the creature. In its death throes, air bubbles would rise from its mouth. Spastic muscle contortions, once frantic, would stop suddenly. The flexible flesh would freeze like a statue, and as its sphincter muscle eased, pellets of feces would appear in the cold water death machine. No more. He was sick of this process. It was humane, but one still had to not only kill, but to witness a process to make sure it was final. Years ago he placed glue traps throughout his mother's house, and he must have killed dozens of mice in this manner. A cold, empty feeling flooded his psyche and soul, until he too also felt dead. That is, dead in the heart. He imagined this is how a death camp operator would feel if they weren't already psychopathic. Instead, he preferred using the classic snap trap, the patented copper coil actin bar with a simple wooden base, a design that had not changed much since its inception, because it worked. Bait on a spring trap, simple but effective. The mouse would receive a blow to the base of the neck, cracking the bone and ending life almost before it was over. Simple and painless, but with a gruesome scene of violence left for one to pick up. Rarely bloody, a corpse would have tiny, round bulged out black eyeballs, pushed outward from the impact, its face frozen in the moment, a shocked countenance of being caught by surprise. Bait was the final thing its mind perceived, when the blow came from behind and above, pressed down upon the wooden board of death. It would freeze into its very last posture, a sickeningly comical exclamation of horror embedded in flesh. Of course there were times when the copper bar would not fall firmly upon the mouse body. Often quick reflexes would cause only an appendage to be caught, and the resulting situation was often dramatic and horrid. One morning a trap was found with only a mouse hand. The flesh and bone had been roughly self-chewed through, in a desperate, courageous attempt at freedom at any cost. An Aaron Ralston of the mouse world no less. One wonders if the mouse made it on further, or succumbed to blood loss or infection. Needless to say, the act shows a courage and will to survive in even the lowliest of God's creatures. Then there was a time when the trap did not manage to kill the beast with the immediate blow. He was left scurrying about the floor, the wooden board dragging along with an intermittent blood trail. For some reason this mouse decided to find refuge under the kitchen refrigerator, under the extremely dusty underside. was a cooling coil that the unfortunate beast was able to rest itself upon. The residents of the apartment could not find the corpse or trap in the following days. A smell of rotting flesh permeated the room, as the refrigerator fan contributed to perpetuating the foul odor. Using one's olfactory ability to hone in on stench, they used a yardstick to push the body and trap out of the narrow space. Due to decay, the flesh had become soft and dough-like however, and some of the flesh had remained on the metal coils, so the odor, though not overpowering, remained for some time. This type of trap did indeed have its downsides. These horrors, though unavoidable, now had a new antidote: the electric mouse trap. Yes, many have talked the talk of building a better mouse trap, but not many have successfully pulled it off. Sonic traps of the 1970s were supposed to generate a high-frequency sound, intolerable to rodents, and inaudible in humans. One would think upon plugging in the apparatus, the sounds of immediate scurrying would emanate from the walls and floorboards, but alas, there was silence. Who knows if these contraptions even produced a sound? They didn't work, and that's for sure. The electric trap was another story, ridiculous in its complexity and theory, but highly effective in doing the job. This machine was a wonder to watch. One of the apartment residents had heard a friend exclaim the wondrous features of this new electric trap. Bought online relatively cheaply, the impression of its greatness was dubious. It resembled a plastic mouse-sized trailer. It was constructed of thick black plastic with traffic signal-like lights upon its roof, green light for armed, red for battery recharge, and blinking for confirmed catch. The simple box had an open hole inviting the mouse into a dark chamber with a metal floor. At the end of the room was a niche for bait, and vents above, to allow the smell to waft into the room. Upon making a circuit by touching another metal plate near the bait, the mouse was greeted with a spine-tingling death blow of electric current emanating from a battery. The current was enough to wreak instant havoc with its body, stopping the heart instantly, and leaving a corpse often in a deceptively calm fetal position. Cleanup was only a matter of flopping the body into a plastic sandwich bag and unceremoniously tossing it within the eggshells and ramen wrappers filling the trash can. Bait was once again reused. The bait was the rodent's eternal last supper, so close to the mouth but never eaten. So with its ease, efficiency, and humane manner, the electric trap made its way to the #1 method of mouse eradication. That winter the tenants raked in nearly 24 mice. Toward the end the mice were babies, indicating that the rodent horde was reaching its end. Nests were found in closets, randomly chewed papers and clothing. Dried urine and a plethora of dung pellets were all scattered about. It is not known if the head mouse was ever caught. That spring perhaps he took off for parts unknown. Spring was long coming and certainly a welcome time for fresh air and outdoor weather, after a long winter battle between mice and men.